The Carolina Panthers look to bounce back once again at home as they welcome in the Miami Dolphins. I'll give you my 3 keys to victory against the Dolphins right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. This episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Who are the 2025 Carolina Panthers? Maybe we'll find out the answer to that question this week as they welcome in the 1-3 Miami Dolphins to Bank of America Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Chuba Hubbard will miss this Sunday's game. What will that mean for the Panthers running game? But here we are sitting once again on a Friday, and what do we do every single Friday throughout the entirety of the regular season here on Locked On Panthers? I give you my 3 keys victory against that week's opponent for the Panthers. Let's go ahead and get it going with the keys to victory. Key number 1, get the passing game going. It's great to be able to win a game, especially at the NFL level, by only throwing the ball for 121 yards. But that's typically not going to get it done, like on Sunday last week, where Bryce Young only threw for 150 yards, and Andy Dalton came in, had some garbage time reception or completions and a touchdown there to Mitchell Evans, which is all fine and well, to lose 42-13 instead of 42-6, but the passing offense has left a lot to be desired so far this season. Outside of the comeback attempt against Arizona, where Bryce Young threw for a career-high 328 yards, you have not seen this passing offense hit a level that I think a lot of people were hopeful for throughout the entirety of the offseason, when you consider that they drafted Tedero McMillan, that they were bringing back Jalen Coker, who's yet to play this season, and Xavier Legette, who's missed the past 2 games as well. And then you look at Adam Thielen's going to be on the roster. There's Hunter Renfrow. There's Jimmy Horn Jr. There's a lot of promise of what this passing game could be this season. Year 3 of Bryce, all those weapons, JT Sanders a part of that as well, even Mitchell Evans and Tommy Trimble to a certain extent, but it has not really played out that way so far this season. But the hope is that this week, with Xavier Legette coming back, having what Dave Canales described as a great week of practice, where XL's spirits appear to be up heading into the season and heading into this Sunday against Miami, that the passing game can get going. It's quite possible that the last 2 weeks, even in the win against Atlanta, then the loss in New England, that there was a lot put on the shoulders of Tedero McMillan, the rookie who's been outstanding so far in that number 1 wide receiver spot. But having XL back in there, maybe that takes pressure off of him if the Panthers get a different Xavier Legette than they got week 1 in Jacksonville and week 2 in Arizona, where they had Bryson Tremaine, not Xavier Legette, out there on the final drive of that game, where they're trying to go down there and potentially win it against Arizona. So getting Legette back, that is a positive after missing the past 2 games, as long as he starts to play to the level, to the standard that they expect him to play at here in Carolina. Also, great opportunity for Jimmy Horn Jr. He has not gotten a uniform the first 4 weeks of the season. You've seen the likes of Dale Von Campbell, who they waived with the injury designation earlier this week after he suffered a hamstring injury in that loss last week against New England. You've seen him get an opportunity before Jimmy Horn Jr. Now Jimmy's chance is here. With David Moore and Jalen Coker on IR this week, they needed him to step up into a spot where Dave Canales said on Friday that he is going to be a part of the offensive game plan. Even when I asked him that on Wednesday, he even said he was going to be a part of the offensive game plan. So how big of a role would Jimmy Horn Jr. play, and can he be a playmaker? A lot of fans out there have wanted to see Jimmy, been like, why are the coaching staff putting this guy on the sideline who's clearly a playmaker? Well, we don't know if he's clearly a playmaker because he's yet to play a game in the National Football League. And it's not like he did anything in the preseason either. So we will find out what they potentially have in Jimmy Horn on Sunday. Now, it's just one game. No reason to use that one game performance as a referendum on him, on the coaching staff, on the offense in general, but still, the Panthers got to get it going in the passing game. Bryce Young has had 32 starts in his career here in Carolina. Only in 12 of those has he thrown for over 200 yards. And the other 20, they're 5-15 in those games. In the pass-happy league that the NFL has become, you cannot win at a high level if you cannot be able to win from the pocket and have a successful passing offense, which right now Carolina has not had. But there's opportunity ahead here on Sunday because the Dolphins are terrible in the secondary. They are 30th, according to EPA, expected points added when their opponents drop back and actually throw the ball. They're 26th in opponents' explosive play rate on passes. The Panthers, though, are only 24th in EPA per pass throw and in 29th in explosive play rate through the passing game. So they have to be better, find an opportunity. We talked to Kyle Krabs about this yesterday, the host of Locked On Dolphins, about the opportunities there potentially in the middle. And now you got XL, his speed. You got Jimmy Horn Jr. speed. This is an opportunity for Carolina to finally get that passing game going here in week 5 against a woeful Miami Dolphins secondary. Number 2. I'm going to steal this from Kyle because I had not even looked up these numbers until he brought them up on the show yesterday on Thursday during a crossover. When on third down, the Dolphins' third down defense is ranked 31st in the NFL, allowing a 51.1% conversion rate for their opponents. While on the other side of the coin, their offense is second best in the NFL, converting 48.9% of their third down conversion. So they can't get off the field on third down, and they stay on the field on third down. And the other one, not getting off the field, is a big reason why they're 1-3 instead of that being flipped and being potentially 3-1 to start off this season. Carolina so far this year, they're 15th in third down defense with a 37.2 conversion rate for their opponents, right there, middle of the road in the NFL. And the Panthers offensively, they're actually 7th in the NFL in 3-and-out percentage, a number where they have been really bad at in recent years. That's only happening 25.5% of the time. So a quarter of the time they have their drives, they are going 3-and-out. So that means they're at least sustaining drives for the most part. And against the Miami defense that can't get off the field on third down, Carolina should be able to stay on the field for a large portion of this game, and that can help them win the game on Sunday. And then number 3, a big part of converting on third down, staying on the field, is being able to finish off drives, which they did not do last week in New England. Punting from the Patriots 43 from their 41, just disgusting to ever be punting from the plus 41, 43 ever in a game, but they decided to do that. Some questionable play calls there by Dave Canales on those third downs with the draw play to Rico Dowdle. Felt like they had the right look. Obviously, it did not work out for them in their favor. Maybe it does this Sunday, but still get the passing game going, as I mentioned. But really, they got to find a way, number 3, to play from ahead. The Dolphins and Panthers, respectively, are 25th and 26th in the NFL in time spent leading this season. The Dolphins have led for 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 5 seconds, while the Panthers have led for 57 minutes and 1 second. So that's a pretty sizable gap between the amount that Miami has led to Carolina leading so far this year, and being at home where they led basically the entirety of that game as they scored on the opening drive. Most of that, pretty much the entirety of that game against Atlanta. If you're able to get out there again, like last week, like the week prior, score on the opening drive, get the home crowd in it. Don't expect there to be a lot of Dolphins fans out there. So it should absolutely be a true home environment that can allow you to be able to run the football. Chuba Hubbard's not going to play on Sunday. We'll talk more about that momentarily, but Rico Dowdle, he can get things done for you. Trevor Etienne's going to get a big opportunity. DJ Dallas, who they signed to the active roster earlier this week. Those 3 guys will be your bell cows in the backfield. Mainly, you would think it'd be Rico and Trevor, but you should be able to run the ball with those guys, especially if you're ahead. If you're behind, like you've been for the majority of the season, then it's hard to stick to the running game. And people have been frustrated by the lack of runs so far this season. Even without Chuba Hubbard, you should still expect them to run the ball on Sunday and have success as long as they can stay on the field on third down, win it defensively as well, get the passing game going, and be able to open up things rushing the ball as well. So those are my 3 keys: victory, play from ahead, win on third down, get the passing game going. We'll see how Carolina does on Sunday, and we'll review that again on Tuesday, as we always do, following that week's game. The injury report came out on Friday afternoon. Chuba Hubbard will be out with a calf injury, and 3 others will also be out. And some questions there defensively as far as who fills in the secondary. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Bird Pizzeria, my favorite pizza place here in Charlotte, is a local business that uses Square. Spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. Local spots like Bird are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep the game moving forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Tommy Trimble and the rest of the tight end group stepping up last week in the absence of JT Sanders. Last Sunday in New England, Tommy Trimble opened up the game with a touchdown reception. Then Mitchell Evans closed out the game with his first career touchdown reception in that game as well. And even though the Panthers offense wasn't great, it was good to see the tight end step up. That has been an area that has really let the Panthers down offensively in the past couple of seasons. Now with JT, who did not play last Sunday, but with Tommy, with Mitchell Evans, and even James Mitchell stepping in there, good to see all that work out. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Taking a look at the injury report for the Carolina Panthers heading into their Week 5 home matchup against the 1-3 Miami Dolphins, and actually didn't need to wait until the afternoon to get one of the injury report, which really was the key one heading into this week, as Ian Rappaport this morning reported that Chuba Hubbard, who's been dealing with a calf injury the last couple of weeks and hasn't practiced this week, is expected to miss Sunday's game against the Dolphins, per him and his colleague Mike Garafolo. Rico Dowdle is the team's backup, and yes, indeed, we found out later on Friday that Chuba Hubbard, with that calf injury, will be out this Sunday. He was also, looking back at last week, limited on Thursday and Friday with the calf, and then was listed as questionable. Of course, played in that game in New England, but then all this week did not practice at all. And Dave Canales did say on Friday that he expects Chuba to be day-to-day next week. So it feels like it's more of just a this week situation where, okay, last week he played through it. He still was sore after the game, wasn't getting better, and even said earlier in the week that it's one of those things where it got a little worse, and they just wanted to take it day to day, get him healthy, and then let him sit out this Sunday, it looks like, and then next week try to get him back there ready to go for Dallas. But the good thing is that the Panthers do have Rico Dowdle, who last year rushed for 1,000 yards, was sixth among running backs who had at least 200 rushing attempts a season ago, and success rate right behind Chuba Hubbard. Now he gets his opportunity to be the number one back this Sunday. Trevor Etienne, I imagine, will also get a big role in the backfield as a rusher for Carolina. Then DJ Dallas, who was with a large portion of the staff in Seattle, he's probably going to be more of a special teams returner in this situation on Sunday, but he'll get his opportunities as well, I expect, offensively. So Chuba Hubbard out with the calf seems to only be a 1 week kind of this week situation, and maybe it would be good next week for Dallas, but we'll see. Shaw Smith-Wade, he will be out this week. Also, he's dealing with a chest injury. Now, this one will be interesting. Damari Mathis, remember him? The guy at Carolina claimed off of waivers. He was cut by the Broncos. He was coming over here to be kind of a veteran backup there for Carolina at the cornerback spot. Well, he tore his ACL basically as soon as he got here, and he's out for the entirety of the season. He would have been the logical choice to fill in for Shaw in there at that nickel spot, had anything like what's happened right now happen to Shaw Smith-Wade. But he, of course, he's done for the year, so they don't really have an obvious choice there at nickel. It could be Corey Thornton or a Caleb Evans. Those are the only two cornerbacks on the active roster. They can look to elevate somebody to come help out, I would think, more so on special teams than they would actually be in a starting role if you're going to ask Corey or AK to step up in there as a starter this Sunday. My guess is Corey Thornton gets the call. He certainly was by far the best of the corners that weren't the starters, that weren't JC, that weren't Mike Jack, that weren't Shaw throughout training camp and the preseason. And he hasn't really gotten many defensive snaps at all so far this year. He would be the guy I would think that would get that opportunity. I don't know if Caleb Evans would. He has more experience, of course, having played there and started in Minnesota a couple of years ago. And then starting last year, week 18 in Atlanta before getting injured. We'll see how that plays out, but that is the one area where if anything ever happened to JC or to Mike Jackson or to Shaw Smith-Wade, there was never a logical person behind those guys who you would feel good about stepping in to those roles. So that will be a matchup absolutely to look at also on Sunday, how Mike McDaniel and that Miami Dolphins, the offense is able to target whoever's going to be filling in there for Shaw Smith-Wade on Sunday here in Carolina. Turk Wharton, he is going to be out with a toe injury. He returned last week after missing the game at Arizona and then the home game against Atlanta with a hamstring injury. And now he's out again with a toe. Not sure what the severity of that is. Typically, what's a toe injury? Usually it's like a turf toe. So I don't know if that's what the case is, but we'll find out maybe more information about that next week. But not ideal that one of your big free agent signings there on the defensive line is now going to miss his third game out of 5. So the hope, at least I had for Carolina when they brought in Bobby Brown III, when they brought in Turk Wharton, was that those guys could potentially, if they were going to have success here in Carolina this season, the team is going to have success, that those guys could have the same impact that you saw from Robert Hunt and from Damian Lewis last year. So far, hard to say that's been the case. And you look at Carolina, they're 1-3. Now, is that because Damian Lewis and Turk Wharton haven't necessarily lived up to the kind of standard that was set there on the other side of the ball by Lewis and Hunt? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but it's not helpful, of course, to have your vet out another week. And he's already missed the majority of the season early on here through 5 weeks. Now, Ryan Ray, who was here last year, part of what was a defensive line that really struggled once Derek Brown went out with that meniscus tear. He has not been elevated to the active roster, but he did have his practice window opened up earlier this week. He's been dealing with an ankle injury, which kept him on IR to start off the season, and he's been a full participant throughout the week. So seems like that's trending in the direction where on Saturday they will elevate him to the active roster, and he'll be able to go out there and to play. Cam Jackson, the rookie defensive tackle from Florida, the 5th-round pick, he is listed as questionable. I think he's probably fine. He was a full participant throughout the week with a knee injury, or at least he was on Thursday and Friday. So those two guys, along with Jaden Crumedy, they could be stepping in to fill the void there for Turk. I would guess Bobby Brown III would be starting or alongside Ashawn Robinson and Derek Brown on Sunday in the interior defensive line. So we'll see how that plays out as far as the severity of Turk Wharton's toe. JT Sanders out again with an ankle injury. Second straight game he's missed a high ankle sprain, injured it against Atlanta a couple weeks ago. Dave Canales did say on Friday that he's hopeful that he'll be ready to go against Dallas, considering they did not put him on IR. Makes you think that they believe he'll be ready earlier than the 4 weeks that he would have to be out if he went on injured reserve. So that's a good thing. And then Pat Jones II, he will be back this week after missing the past 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. DJ Wonnum listed as questionable, but was a full participant all week after missing last week with a hip injury. That will be helpful. As you know, DJ Johnson, the Panthers moved on from him earlier this week after a DJ Johnson performance on Sunday. So you're seeing that at least poor play will lead to you no longer being here. We saw that on Sunday. We'll see if that plays out moving forward in the event that other guys are also not able to live up to the standard that they want set here in Carolina on the defensive side of the ball and even on offense and on special teams. So good for the edge rushers to get those two vets back and have Nick Scorton and Princely Monmiela not be asked to do as much as they were last week in their roles down in New England, really the last 2 weeks for Scorton. So that's the injury report heading into the game on Sunday against Miami, who are the 2025 Carolina Panthers. Maybe we'll find out on Sunday. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Who are the 2025 Carolina Panthers? We're 4 games into the season here in 2025, and we have seen a woeful performance in week 1 against Jacksonville. We've seen a woeful performance the first half of the game against Arizona, then some encouraging signs and quite possibly a turnaround there in the second half against Arizona, and then the beatdown at home against Atlanta. And then we saw, well, what happened last week in New England, another woeful performance against a team that Carolina felt like they had a chance to beat. Now, the Patriots play Buffalo on Sunday night, and if they beat Buffalo, they go to 3-2, then maybe New England will actually be a good football team this season, and the Carolina was not on their level. I don't believe, though, that the Patriots are truly 29 points better than the Panthers. They were on Sunday, but I do not believe that that is how much better the New England Patriots are than this iteration of the Carolina Panthers. But the Panthers obviously need to get healthy. Getting Xavier get back this week is helpful. Jalen Coker having his practice window open up next week will be helpful once he comes back. I would not necessarily expect that he'll be ready to go next Sunday against Dallas. They did say they want to see how he is able to manage things. If he's able to be a full participant by Thursday and on Friday, then yeah, I guess he will be back out there on Sunday for Carolina. So injuries are a part of the game, as we've seen with Austin Corbett going down and Robert Hunt going down and Chandler Zavala going down. You're losing 3 of your offensive linemen in an offensive line room that brought back everybody from a year ago. And no matter how you feel about Corbett, how you feel about Chandler Zavala, it matters to have those guys not out there, because if something else happens on the offensive line, then where do you turn? We've seen it across the roster in years past, and you're seeing a little bit right now, but not to a catastrophic level, at least to this point, which I would say is a good thing and speaks to the improved depth, even if the depth still hasn't improved that much in certain spots. But I'm so curious to see how this team is going to respond on Sunday. Dave Canales said earlier this week on Monday that they're still collecting information on who they are as a team, and Sunday will be another opportunity for them to collect said information about who the 2025 Carolina Panthers are going to be and who they are. Right now, they're a team that is really inconsistent, and a team that so far has not really shown up for the majority of the season at this point in time, aside from one half in Arizona during what effectively was garbage time until they got the onside kick, and then one game against Atlanta where, if you look at the Falcons outside of that game, winning against Commanders last week, winning at Minnesota, who maybe the Vikings aren't that good after all, but still early on in the season, winning a game against, or losing just barely against Tampa. Maybe it was just more of Atlanta last Sunday than it was Carolina. And I was having a conversation with somebody earlier this week just about the Panthers and the rest of the league and how things play out, where you can go from a wild swing of winning 30-0 to losing 42-13. And that person was saying to me, well, the Falcons just had an off week, where typically most NFL teams, they're on every week, and then they have that off week where they get blasted, lose 30-0, just come out there and don't play well. For the Panthers, they always have an off week. It's just they're sometimes on, like when they win 30-0 against Atlanta. And that kind of feels like an apt description of this team over the last couple of years and under Dave Canales so far during his first 21 games, where in 9 of the 15 games that they've lost, they have just gotten embarrassed. They have not been competitive in those football games. So you really don't know what you're going to get from Carolina from a week-to-week basis. And yes, it's a week-to-week league. Things can change very quickly. I understand that, but you have to have some level of consistency and have an identity. And Dave says their identity is that they fight, that they put out effort, all of that. I didn't see a lot of fight. I didn't see great effort on Sunday in that loss against Atlanta. I saw it the week prior against Atlanta, or the loss they had in New England, but I saw it the week prior against Atlanta. I suppose I saw a fight there against Arizona. I mean, they came back. So yes, there was fight, but you didn't get the effort for 60 minutes is what you're asking from these guys, what you're paying them to do. And no, not every game needs to be a referendum on Bryce Young, on Dave Canales, and the state of the organization. But when things have been as bad as they've been over the last couple of seasons, it's really hard for people, and myself included, to be rational when they go from losing, or they go from winning 30-0 to losing 42-13. It's hard to just stay with a sound mindset when you have such wild swings, and you try to understand, how can you go from fighting back against Arizona, looking good against Atlanta, to whatever the hell that was on Sunday, especially when you get off to a good start, scoring the opening drive. You get a stop, you're driving again, and then one punt decision, one bad third down call, in my opinion, you punt it, it's returned for a touchdown, and right then and there, it's like, oh, well, I guess that's it for Carolina. They didn't fight back from that point in time. And again, this is the point of the schedule where they can win games. Now, there's going to be other parts of the season, like when they play New Orleans twice, where they can win, and certainly they can be competitive against other teams on the schedule remaining after these first 7 weeks. But this was really an opportunity, and it was never ideal for Carolina to start off their first 3 out of 4 on the road. And we have seen why, as this is a bad team when they play away from home, and they played really well at home. And maybe that will carry over on Sunday against Miami Dolphins team that no longer has Tyreek Hill this season, and probably done in Miami in the future as well. And then you look at the situation with Mike McDaniel and Tua and their future is really McDaniel's future. He's on the hot seat. So that could be something if Carolina wins that game, where Stephen Ross, like, all right, I've seen enough. Let's get rid of this guy. And we saw it a couple of years ago, the Panthers beat somebody and they end up firing their coach right after that. So we'll see what they show. But at 1-3, this is a game you got to win. And the next week against Dallas is another game you got to find a way to win. And hell, the Jets, my God, if you're gonna, as far as the next 3 games, lose any of them, it should be the Dallas game, you would think, just because the Cowboys can put up points offensively. And I have not seen a ton from this offense to believe that they can hang with Dallas in a shootout like the Giants did a couple weeks ago, like Green Bay, of course, did on Sunday night there in Dallas and Micah Parsons' return. So Miami and the Jets, like, those are the games you absolutely have to have. And especially when you look at who's after those 3 games. You got Buffalo at home. Well, kind of at home. Going to be plenty of Bills fans in the stadiums that day. Green Bay on the road. They're a bad road team. And the Packers maybe aren't as good as we thought they were after that week 1 beatdown of Detroit there in Lambeau. But still, I wouldn't bet on Carolina to win that game. So if you look at it right now, yes, they're 1-3. But if you assume they're going to lose that game to Buffalo and to Green Bay, they're sitting at 1-5. So you got to find a way to make it 3-6 by at least beating Miami and the Jets. And obviously, more preferably, you win the next 3 games, 2 of them at home against Miami and Dallas, and you go on the road and beat the Jets, and you're 4-5 when looking at if you want to go ahead and include Buffalo and Green Bay as a loss. Maybe that's not the right mindset, but, like, let's be realistic here. Let's not sit here and give this team the benefit of the doubt. And I just remember last week, and I went on someone's show and they were saying, oh yeah, I think this team, they can start off 5-2. I was like, buddy, I haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe that would be the case. And, well, Exhibit A is what happened on Sunday, but still the jury's out. And Dave Canales, he said to us back in the spring, it's going to take 4 to 6 games to figure out who the Carolina Panthers are. So they played 3 on the road, have had 1 at home. They get 2 now at home. And if they can be 3-3 through 6 games, maybe we'll have a better picture of who the Carolina Panthers are. But I certainly think that Sunday's game, while not needing to be a referendum on Bryce Young, on Dave Canales, and on the state of the organization, certainly will give us more information on who these Carolina Panthers are in the year 2025. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe or follow the show for free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where I will be back with you next Wednesday answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. What you got to do is, after the game on Sunday against Miami, after I've recorded, you go ahead, you hit me up in my DMs over there on Twitter and on Blue Sky at Julian Council. Get your questions in for next week's edition of the weekly Wednesday mailbag. But in the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding. And I will be back with y'all live here on YouTube on Sunday, about an hour and a half or so after the game. I'll be there in the press box. I'm going to go down to Dave Canales' press conference. Dave Bryce Young's press conference as well in the locker room. Talk to the guys following, hopefully, which will be a victory. Then I'll be back up there talking to y'all live on YouTube. So stay tuned for all of that. I'll talk to y'all then.